Okay, quiet. Welcome to the 26th Annual Ohio Employee Ownership Conference. My name is Bill McIntyre, and I am the Director of the Ohio Employee Ownership Center. Before we begin, for the first time ever, we are providing the general session proceedings this morning and at lunch to a worldwide internet audience, because we are being streamed live to anybody who wants to see us. And so that means that you can notify in whatever way you want to notify your friends and family, co-workers, to go to www.oeockent.org. And Chris Cooper assures me that if you get there, it will be immediately obvious what you click on to access the video of this morning's proceedings and our lunch proceedings. So if you want to do that, feel free. Again, thanks to Chris Cooper of our staff for arranging that, and also David Sullivan of Terrapin Media for making sure that the technology happens. We were going to have, as our next step, Kathleen Clyde, who is the Ohio State Representative for District 68, give the official welcome. We have not received word that she is not coming. The last word was that she is coming. But the fact is that she is not yet here. She may walk in the door any second, but in the absence of her being here at the moment, let me just say I now officially welcome you to the 26th Annual Ohio Employee Ownership Conference. Our conference theme this year is Employee Ownership, Simply a Better Way of Doing Business. There has been considerable discussion, and actually before I go too far, Andy Kaliza, I know, is here, and I believe he knows he's supposed to be up at the head table. So Andy, if you could, there he is, I know. Enjoy your moment in the sun, Andy. Okay. There's been considerable discussion this past year about the flaws of capitalism and the adoption of alternate economic models, the development of a third way or of a new economy. But frankly, we are not interested in developing a third way or any alternate way. We are interested in employee ownership being the way. Louis Kelso, the philosophical founder of ESOPs, made the statement, "The only thing wrong with capitalism is that we need more capitalists." Well, with employee ownership, we are all capitalists. We are all owners. We all share in the benefits of employee ownership, and that means we all share in the risks of ownership too. Employee ownership is not a magic bullet, and guess who just walked in? Kathleen Clyde. So what I will do is I'll finish this paragraph, and then there's a little transition, and I'll pause a moment and give Kathleen a chance to catch her breath. Come on, yeah, this is you up here. So we all share in the risks of ownership. Employee ownership is not a magic bullet that cures all corporate weaknesses. If the year is 1910, and you manufacture buggy whips, well, there's this new invention called the automobile that is probably going to cause problems for your company, and employee ownership is not likely to help save your company. So I'll just stop right there. Remember, we're at employee ownership is not a magic bullet. Okay, remember, employee ownership is not a magic bullet. Research studies, though, do show that employee ownership combined with an ownership culture results in improved corporate performance. Employee-owned companies are more successful than comparable non-ESOP companies. And with more success comes more wealth creation. And who shares in that success? Well, the beauty of employee ownership is that everybody shares in the success. Everyone shares in the creation of wealth. Prior to joining the OEOC, I worked at an employee-owned company for over 15 years. I lived employee ownership. I saw what it could do for people on a personal, professional, and financial basis. Having your stock price rise from $5 per share to $90 per share helps make for a lot of happy owners. It's more than just dollars, though. When you work with people who are co-workers of the company that you own, your work is more enjoyable because you know that everyone is doing their best, day in, day out, to make sure that your customers are satisfied. Doesn't mean you agree on everything that you're doing. The Mondragon co-ops have a saying that this is not heaven and we're not angels. Okay, and it fits inside employee-owned companies also. There is disagreement, but everybody has the fundamental belief that every other co-worker is working towards doing the best job that they can to satisfy the customers. So you can go home each night with a feeling of accomplishment, that you've done good, and that's a good feeling. And look at what happens when this attitude becomes prevalent among most employees. Most customers, or more customers, are satisfied. Satisfied customers increase their purchases of your goods and services. They also tell other people about your company, and you acquire new customers. Your business grows. And as long as your costs are managed and you set your prices at a level so that your company can earn a profit, your company's value grows too. Your stock price increases, and all employee owners see their own personal wealth grow. What do employee owners do with that wealth? Well, they tend to spend it locally. Thus the wealth of their community tends to grow also. Wow. Let's take a step back and look at what this means. If we were to successfully increase dramatically the number of ESOP companies and worker-owned cooperatives in the United States, we would be increasing the wealth of the middle class in this United States and increase the wealth of the communities in which they live. What are the Occupy Wall Street people demonstrating against? And what statistics are alarming many economists and some Ohio state representatives? They're demonstrating against and are alarmed about the concentration of wealth by the 1% at the expense of the 99%, and the corresponding reduction of wealth in Main Street, where the 99% live. Think about it. Employee ownership can help solve both of those problems. Employee ownership can help rebuild the American middle class and restore and build wealth in communities throughout the country. Wow. Don't you love it when a plan comes together? It can happen. We live in a competitive world, a capitalist world. Employee-owned companies are more successful than non-employee-owned companies. Employee-owned companies are better at capitalism than our non-employee-owned companies. Employee-owned companies have been and will be the companies that survive and thrive. We can change society so that the majority of companies are employee-owned and a majority of Americans work for an employee-owned company. And it's all because when you combine employee ownership with an ownership culture at a company, employee ownership is simply a better way of doing business. Employee ownership can be the way, but it's not easy. If you live it, you know it's not easy. If it were easy, we'd already have changed society and changed the world. And Occupy Wall Street would have no reason to exist. Establishing and maintaining an ownership culture takes effort. Understanding and managing your company so that you comply with ESOP rules and regulations, and so that you incorporate the financial demands of employee ownership into your company's comprehensive financial plan takes effort, but there is help for you, starting with this conference today. We've designed our conference with tracks to help you establish and maintain an ownership culture at your company and to educate employee owners about the technical aspects of ESOPs and cooperatives. Our center throughout the year, we also provide educational programs for employee-owned companies through our Ohio network of employee-owned companies. It's the best training bargain around. For information on joining the network, go to our website, oeockent.org, or talk with Jay Simachek of our staff. I want to express our appreciation for the support of the professional firms whose ads in the conference program and in our Owners at Work online magazine help pay for the cost of this conference and keep the registration costs low for participants. Special appreciation goes out to Phil DeDominicus. Phil, if you're here yet, please stand. I know he's presenting later, but he's not here yet. Menke & Associates for sponsoring the coffee break later this afternoon. Check out their ad on page 21 of the conference program, too. And of course, hopefully everybody did pick up the conference program and take time to read through it, learn about the presenters, read the ads, learn about the companies that are supporting our conference. In particular, we would like to recognize those service provider firms supporting the OEOC at what we call the bronze level. For the first time ever this year, we offered varying levels of support for the OEOC by the professional service provider firms. These are the bronze level supporters of the OEOC. So if you would stand when I call your name and remain standing. From Blue Ridge ESOP Associates, Barbara Clough, Kelly Allman, Tracy Cromwell. I know they're here. There they are. From Comstock Advisors, Rick Sluter and Dave Engel. I saw them earlier also. There's Rick all the way in back. From Enterprise Services, Scott Miller. I know Scott is here. You're supposed to stay up, Rick. I saw you sit down there. ESOP Economics, Tina DeCroce. Back table. ESOP Plus, Schatz, Brown, Glassman, and Casa, Rob Brown. There's Rob, already standing by the door. ESOP Marketplace, Jack Vale. I've seen Jack around. There's Jack waving at the doorway. From GBQ Consulting, Brian Bornino and Joe Borowski. I've seen Brian outside in the lobby, working the room, as it were. From Kegler, Brown, Hill, and Ritter, Tim Yoakum and Tom Sigmund. I've seen both of them earlier. They're doing what service providers do, is that they're talking to somebody outside in the hallway. Maloney and Novotny, David Reyes, Pete Chittick, and Dario Savron. I've seen Pete down here. Welcome, guys. Menke & Associates, well, we've already talked about Phil, and Phil's not here. Reliance Trust, Lance Studdard. I saw Lance earlier. From Stout Regis Ross, Rad Reby and Mark Fournier. There's Rad. From the Van Olson Law Firm, Van Olson, waving in back. Wave again, Van. Please join me in thanking them for their support. We have one firm that supported the OEOC at the silver level. And that would be McDonald Hopkins, Carl Grassi, Meredith Fergus, and Dale Vlasic. They are all the way in back under the Attorney Insight sign, waving. That's Dale, that would be Meredith. Thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Two professional firms supported the OEOC at the gold level. A big thank you to the ESOP Financial Advisor and Valuation Advisory Firm of Apple Growth Partners, Dave Gustafson, Jason Bogniard, Eric Flickinger, and Brian Costello. I know there's Dave. Where are your troops, Dave? There they are. Okay, stand up. check out their ad on page 8. And we also have the firm of Crowe Horwath, which provide ESOP administration services. And they shut down their office today and came to Akron. There's a small army of folks from Crowe Horwath, and hopefully you got the message around Pete, and they're all in the room. Starting with Pete Schuler, who's a member of our advisory board, waving him back. And then also Lori Stewart, Michael Huffman, Heather McNabb, Heather Gibson, Mark Swanson, Amy Turner, Aaron Geibel, William Duncan, Tammy Basham, Melissa Coletti, and Kristen Conkle. Big round of applause to all of them. Thank you very much. And their ad is not hard to miss. It is the back cover of the conference program. We had one professional firm sign up for a platinum level sponsorship. This is our highest level of support, and we appreciate their confidence in the OEOC. Please give a really big thank you to SES Advisors, Jim Steicher from Philadelphia, and Tim Regnitz from Rolling Meadows, Illinois. They are all the way in the back by their exhibit. There's Jim. I know Tim is here. Is Tim being bashful? There's Tim. SES Advisors is a full-service firm providing ESOP feasibility and transaction analysis, ESOP design and installation, ESOP financing, ESOP and 401k administration, 401k plan consulting, repurchase obligation, and mature ESOP consulting, as well as ESOP legal services. Their ad is on page 6. Thank you again, SES Advisors. In fact, check out the ads for all of the service providers. They're scattered throughout the program, and they do a great job of making you aware of the professional firms and the services that they offer. ESOPs have several hurdles and obstacles for companies to deal with, but the hurdles tend to be low and the obstacles tend to be skinny. The only problem is if you don't know where they are. These professionals know where the hurdles and the obstacles are. Consult with these ESOP professionals to make sure that you can safely step over those low hurdles and walk around the skinny obstacles. So let's have a big hand for all service providers. And if all service providers would stand up. I think if all service providers, please stand. We have attorneys, we have bankers, valuation advisors, trustees, ESOP administrators, financial advisors, investment bankers, organizational development and ownership culture consultants, accountants, all of those folks. Please stop by their displays in the lobby or at the end of this grand ballroom to learn more about each firm's services. We have a keynote speaker who will be speaking to us at lunchtime. And we have speakers at 19 breakout sessions this morning and afternoon. Those speakers are from ESOP companies, worker-owned cooperatives, economic development organizations, legislators, staffs, government agencies, and service provider firms. This conference will be a success, largely due to the programs that these folks will be presenting. And every one of them is a volunteer. To the speakers, thank all of you very much. We appreciate your involvement in making this conference a success. So with smaller groups, we always begin with a round of introductions, but asking 300 people to introduce themselves takes a little bit too long. The next best thing is getting you to stand up by group so everyone gets a sense of who is here. We've already recognized the service providers. So let's start now with the folks from state and federal public sector organizations, and if you would stand up and stay standing. So state and federal public sector organizations, nonprofits, churches, foundations, and educational institutions, and those who work in economic development for chambers of commerce, cities and counties, and small business development centers. If all of you folks would stand up, that would be great. Thank you very much. There are people attending the conference from at least 14 companies that are not yet employee-owned, but are considering whether it makes sense in their companies. Would those people please stand? And I do have some advice for you folks who are not yet employee-owned. Talk with people from employee-owned companies. Talk with service providers. Ask them the tough questions. Learn as much as you can. We think the more you know, the more you'll like the whole idea of employee ownership. And last but not least, let's recognize the employee owners from at least 35 companies that have employee owners in attendance at this conference today. So would all employee owners from employee-owned companies please stand and be recognized? Everybody? Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the people who live employee ownership every day and make it work. Congratulations to all of you. I'm excited about the program we have put together for you today and hope that you will find it stimulating and educational, and there is nothing wrong with having some fun too. Enjoy yourselves.